Allusions. Allusions are references in literature to actual events, people, places, or ideas that are commonly known. And this is the significant part of allusions. If they're not commonly known, then an allusion fails to succeed because the author only uses an allusion to reference something that he or she assumes the reader already knows or understands. These could be references to historical events, political revolutions or figures, social constructs, literary references to other authors, other books. Allusions must be well known in order to succeed, or else the reader will miss the whole point. Why would an author make an allusion? Why not just say specifically what the place is? Because giving an allusion also gives a reader a reference point to understanding the work better, and it makes the reader feel like he has an inside knowledge on the plot or the story, a knowledge that connects him closer. It also saves the author all of the time of explaining something if he can just allude to it in reference. Here's an example. In this sentence, there is an allusion. The rise in poverty will unlock the Pandora's box of crimes. Well, do you know what Pandora's box is? It comes from the original Greek mythology myth of Pandora and Prometheus. If you are not familiar with Prometheus, you may still be familiar with Pandora's box because it's a pretty popular reference. But if you had no knowledge of Pandora's box, then this sentence would totally confuse you. Therefore, the author must make sure that a reference to something or an allusion to something is a commonly held knowledge. Another example is this. Don't act like a Romeo in front of her. Well, that sentence also holds an allusion with it because the author is alluding to the reference of Romeo in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet and everything that Romeo means. So not just the character in the play, but the fact that the character was a very romantic character, a romantic male. So in the sentence, they're saying, don't act like a really romantic guy in front of her. If you had no idea who Romeo was, you would miss the reference. So allusions are really important because they carry not just the way to shorten a reference to something without using so many words, but it also strengthens the value of the reference by adding all the historical context, literary context, political context that surrounds that idea. In this way, an author can really load his sentences by using references to things outside of his work. It's efficient, and it's really impactful if he's alluding to things that his audience already knows. Allusions are common in literature, and they will be common in the books that are on your reading list. So pay attention to the things that I've been referencing so far. Allusions, alliteration, allegory. As we go through these things, I want you to memorize them, write down the definitions, and try to distinguish them in the works on the reading list as you peruse them. And be careful to take note of them as you take the study questions.